One of my YouTube members, the Corner 3673, actually brought up a very interesting question. What happens is I have, like a paid section on my YouTube channel where people can actually subscribe and get interviews early. And they have a forum, a community, which is only accessible to members. So sometimes I'll say, hey, I'm having so-and-so on my show. What should I ask them? And they'll propose certain questions. So this guy, the Corner 3673, actually had a very interesting question. He said, why don't you turn Democrat? Your message would reach a lot more people and you'd get more votes the next time around. The conservative community compares you to Obama in a negative way.
So look, I think the two-party system is in some ways, it's just another form of artificial identity. I think the real divide in the country is not between Republicans and Democrats. It's between the managerial class and the everyday citizen. I think the things that would make it very, I think it just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't have ever made sense. And a lot of people ask me this question is, look, I believe in the importance of small government. I believe in the importance of shutting down federal bureaucracy. I believe in the importance of just meritocracy. I reject equity of outcomes, but I embrace equality of opportunity. Has the Republican Party been perfect or even good on the question of really advancing equality of opportunity? You could make the argument the answer to that's no, but the Democratic Party, at least the modern version of it, is too focused on equity of outcome in a way that's not aligned with my core philosophy either. So I think of myself as somebody who's pro-American. I said this when I was running for U.S. president as a Republican. I was using the Republican Party as a vehicle to advance my agenda. I said that to Republicans and to the Republican Party itself, because I believe in that level of candor and honesty. But you've now seen a guy who ran, for Democrat U.S. president that became an independent that's now supporting Donald Trump. It's RFK. You've got Tulsi Gabbard. She switched parties. You've got other people like Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney that have gone the other way. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a lot of two-way traffic right now, which tells you that the real divide isn't between traditional Republican and Democrat anyway, but between this kind of bureaucratic managerial class and the everyday citizen. And I'm on the side of representing the voice of the citizen. And, put whatever label on that you want. I call that pro-American.
Okay, so you're saying that there is a chance, not that there's any plan, but there is a chance that at one point you might actually run as a Democrat.
I don't see that happening because I think if the Democratic Party ended up being, if Party X, right, just like Party Z, okay, ends up emerging where that party is exclusively dedicated to reviving meritocracy in America, standing for free speech as an absolutist principle that you believe all opinions are fair game to express, that stands for the rule of law, that stands for standing against illegal immigration while embracing legal immigration at the same time, that stands for reviving national pride in the country, standing for our veterans without apology, standing for the national character of the United States, sensible approaches to voting, like making Election Day a holiday in a way that unites Americans, then yes, that's what I'm all in for. It's just that today I truly believe that the Republican Party can be that party, and that's why I've been looking to play a leading role. Last year, the leading role is what I was aspiring to, but in the future, a leading role in shaping the Republican Party to be the party that represents those principles I just laid out. I think there are currently, and the person who asked the question may disagree, but currently I believe is the party that is much closer to best expressing those ideals. And also, crucially, here's a big one for me, staying out of World War III in the process, okay? Staying out of foreign interventionism for its own sake. In that context, right now, I think the Republican Party is closest, not perfect. There are a lot of Republicans that favor that foreign interventionism too, but the Republican Party that is the one that is closest to embodying those ideals. And in the context of a two-party system, that's exactly why I chose to run and will likely continue to choose to run as a Republican, but it's as a vehicle for advancing this pro-American agenda that I actually care about.
Well, when you look at our last interview, the clips that got the most views were the ones about money. It was the ones about you making your first million, the difference.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah, the difference between being a millionaire and a billionaire and so forth. Because people are interested in that. We've also, I've also pushed stock investment and, financial literacy on my platform for many years. So I think that's probably part of the reason. Now, if you were 18 and you had no money and you had to start over right now in 2024, how would you get rich?
It's a good question. I want to think about that because I want to give you a good answer. So you have no money and you're 18 years old right now graduating.
Correct.
And you want to make it big. How do you do it? So I'll give you a high-level answer, and then let me give you even some specifics. High-level answer is identify what's out of favor and then start running right there. Okay, so what's not popular, okay? I mean, there's an AI revolution, that's hot. Okay, if that's already been talked about and you're not into it, you're even hearing about it, that means that's probably not the place where there's opportunity for you. So identify what's not hot, and then ask yourself, where do you have unique attributes that allow you to do something that somebody else can't do? Find the union of those two things, something that's out of favor, but an area where you have unique talents that somebody else doesn't, and then be patient. You got to have enough or be able to raise enough cash to be able to stay out of bankruptcy until the tide actually turns in your favor. Now I'll get specific, right? I think that there is some areas in the stock market that fit that description right now. I think there are a lot of sectors that have fallen out of favor because of even some of the things I talk about in this book relating to the climate agenda that have become so hostile to certain forms of energy production in the United States that we're going to end up needing, okay? But in this temporary period have completely fallen out of favor because of the nature of climate change or cultural debates about it that have caused those sectors to fall out of favor. It might be an interesting place to look at technological development, at learning the language of that industry. I think you're seeing that in certain areas of biotech even, where a lot of publicly traded biotech companies right now even, and this happened in the early phase of when I entered biotech investing around 2008, 2009, you saw this. Companies with potentially valuable pipelines were trading close to cash. So the amount of cash in the bank that they had in their bank account was the entire publicly traded value of the company. Well, some of those companies might blow all that cash and go under. Some of them did. But if any of those companies has even a little bit of value to create, boy, you're really entering or joining that company as a employee that gets stock options, or as an investor. Now, per your example, you don't have cash to invest, but maybe that's the kind of company you could join and get equity in as an employee. Say you don't have to pay me cash, but I'll take equity. You get that equity at a low, what's called strike price, right, where that company's trading. If that company creates any value at all, it's just gravy on top of it, trading at just its cash value. There's a lot of those companies to look for. So that's an example of how you could apply the principle. But the broader principle is figure out where the pack is running, run the other way. You'll have the menu of options, and then find the one that best has your skill set match up to it. And you know what? That's a formula for blue sky wealth creation. You could be wealthier than I am, okay? It's just the right level of patience and the right level of willing to take that right bet. And some of it, some of it's a little bit of fortuitousness too. You can't deny that. But if you do it enough times over, it's not luck at that point. It's you actually seizing a contrarian destiny. And that's how you generate mass amounts of real liquid wealth.
Yeah, I mean, I based my stock investing strategy on Warren Buffett, and he has the term, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. So for example,
it's classic.
When everyone hated Elon Musk when he was buying Twitter, the Tesla stock price started to plummet. Not because Tesla was doing bad, was because people were mad at Elon Musk. So I bought a ton of Tesla stock. That stock has tripled since then. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, so I understand what you're talking about. You want to get into areas where the price is below where it should be because everyone is fearful that this company is going to go bankrupt and so forth. Now, if I were to give you $10,000 right now, because this is an amount of money that I think a lot of my readers and viewers would kind of relate to. We're not talking about millions of dollars. $10,000, where would you put that money? In what stocks, or would you put in index funds or bonds, or where would you do it?
So what's the situation of the person who we're talking about here?
The situation we're talking about, because I think this is important when it comes to stock investing.
It really matters.
It definitely matters. And I've always said that whatever you invest in the stock market has to be an amount of money that you're not going to touch for at least a decade. You can't dip into it to pay your rent or food or whatever else. So this person has a stable job, and he or she has $10,000 put aside to invest, and they know they won't have to touch it anytime soon. Where would you put that money right now?
So if you're talking about the ultra long time horizon, right, where you're not going to have to need that money, a diversified basket of stocks is always where over a 40-year time frame you're going to earn the maximal compounded investment return. This is what history teaches us. And do it in whatever's the lowest fee vehicle you're able to achieve that. I think that over a 40-year time horizon, that's been a time-proven strategy. Now, that's not the situation that many people are in. Many people may need some of that money much sooner than then, and then you start looking at, or may have lower appetites for risk, or somebody may be older and may actually rely on fixed income that comes in to actually live their life. Then you actually can't rely on stocks. You probably need to have bonds in your portfolio that actually pay that interest. So it all depends on the particular situation you're in. But apart from like the giving investment advice, put that to one side. You talk about just sort of as a student of history, right? As a student of economic history, in the long run, because it entails more risk, but also that's why it actually has to provide more return, investing in a diversified basket of equities over a 40-year time frame is going to be superior than allowing it to just sit in your bank account and collect cash. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I tell people, and me personally, my entire 401k is in the S&P 500. Now, when it comes to my personal stocks, I have 3 stocks that I put everything in. Everything is Google, Amazon, and Tesla. But when it comes to my retirement money, it's all S&P 500. And I think for me, that's a strategy that's worked well. But I think most people want like that hot stock tip. They want to put everything into a stock, and then when it doesn't do well, they think the whole thing is a scam, and they back away from it.
I would say that if you're in the market for a hot stock tip, here'd be my best advice to you. Seek a different paradigm.
Right.
Okay?
I agree.
Because you're asking the wrong question, right? That'd be my best piece of advice.
Exactly.
I could make a case for different stocks that I think, or even sectors that I think are undervalued right now. But the number one thing is if you're looking to, without that much disposable income sitting to one side and say, I need a hot stock tip to be able to make my way upward, I would say that you're asking the wrong question. Actually.
I agree.